Welcome to UC Today. We have another UC Partner Trend session with you. Today I am joined by G3, AVP of Product Marketing at RingCentral. Welcome to the show. How are you?
Hi, David. Thank you for having me. I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm great, thank you. I'm very excited about today's conversation. We're going to be talking about AI in the contact center. AI is absolutely everywhere right now. People are scrambling to try and understand what it's going to do to their business, where it's going to help them in the contact center. And today we're going to discover that. So, should we get straight into this conversation? We're seeing AI tools, and now especially generative AI, hitting the contact center market in quite a meaningful way. Where are you seeing the biggest impact these tools are having today?
David, I got to be honest. I was thinking I should put this question in ChatGPT before answering this. I know ChatGPT is so prevalent. We've all been using it. I personally been using it a lot. It's phenomenal, kind of the momentum that it's picked up in the market. They've hit 100 million users in 2 months compared to even TikTok, which took like about 9 months. So a massive, impact that we're seeing with generative AI, not just in contact center, but in so many other fields as well. So when it comes to contact center, I was at Enterprise Connect, and obviously that was talk of the town, and we absolutely see generative AI. The first adoption in generative AI in almost all contact centers. If you look at some of the leading vendors in the space, like NICE and Five9 and everybody else out there, they've been trying to incorporate generative AI. And the way it's kind of different from conversational AI, which is kind of, if you were to think of it as like the previous iteration of AI, is it's much more human-like. It's able to generate, like I've personally tried writing essays with that. So it generates content, massive amounts of data that it's able to parse through large language models. So it's becoming much more intuitive for contact centers to adopt that, because it's the answers that it gives. It's intelligent, it's intuitive, it's got empathy too, and it's able to parse more than what the previous generations are able to do. So we saw a lot of demos, and the biggest meaningful way we're seeing it adopted is in chatbots, which is obvious because in chatbots you want the response to be much more empathetic, much more personalized. So having generative AI there, and the magic here is actually trying to bring generative AI along with what they have. So the model is much more tailored to the use case, to the data, to the customer processes, and so on and so forth. So first I would say is obviously in chatbots. The second I would say is in the agent assist side of the house, which is pretty interesting. We had some of the companies like Microsoft and others have demos where they talk about how you can use generative AI in the background and get answers from an agent, and the agent has the capability of looking at the answers and just using it as is. So I think that's another big use case that we're seeing as well. So again, I can keep talking about generative AI, but where I want to leave here is, look, there's technology, there's an adoption curve. We're early in the adoption curve, but there are a lot of pilots which are happening, which gives us confidence that generative AI will be used as a part of the overall mix of AI that we have in contact centers.
Yeah. So as you say, it does feel like early days in this particular space, but everyone seems to be jumping on board and having a play or conducting those pilots, like you mentioned. I guess the big question is, though, is there an opportunity to generate additional margins, though, with the use of AI right now, sort of today?
Yeah, I think it's a very relevant question for today's environment. Margins, profitability, so important in this environment. And contact centers have always been about cost and margin. Apart from being the CSAT and the experience side of the equation, there's this constant struggle of balancing experience and cost. So where I feel there's a phenomenal impact with margin is there are two ways, fundamental ways, in which a contact center can look at margins. One is, okay, I'm getting a lot of calls. How do I take them and send some of them to an agent where they're able to use more digital options, where they are not just taking their time and doing one-on-one calls, but they're having multiple digital interactions to play with, which means, an agent's time and effort is spent in more than one activity, which has been a traditional way. Now with AI, I think two big ways is how can it take an agent completely out of the equation, which is all your bots. We've come a long way in not just chat bots, which we've been talking about, also voice bots being much more conversational. And the second equation is, okay, how do I help? Let's say the call was not supposed to be handled by an agent, but it kind of hits the agent. How do I help the agent? How do I help being a co-pilot? And that's where the agent assist part works, where the bot at the background is able to do a lot of activities for the agent before the call, getting all the information, during the call, giving them the right prompts on, a little bit of information about the customer, or giving them an access to an FAQ that might be relevant to a conversation, giving them inputs about what are the things that they have to ask, like a checklist, giving them coaching, and also after call wrap up. So pretty much after call, post call, there's a buddy, there's a co-pilot who's helping an agent, which is going to have a tremendous impact on the handle time, which is a clear, margin lever, right? So either of all the calls coming in, you're going to shrink the number of calls by putting some bots in the front end, or even when the calls come in, you're going to shrink the time because of agent co-pilots, buddies. So I think those are two levers which we're seeing contact centers use AI predominantly, especially from a margin perspective. And of course, there's this margin and experience is always a balance that we try to handle every day.
Let's talk about partners. We're in the UC Partner Trend series, so let's talk a little bit about partners. Do partners need to invest in AI and sort of data skill sets to help build some of this stuff, or even sell it at the other end? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So when you look at partners, there are multiple types of partners. From a vendor perspective, the technology partners or ISV partners, that's the type of partners who are, you can think of them as like bot creators that you can bring into your platform and connect with your existing omnichannel routing, for example, right? So there's several bot vendors out there in the market, and that's one area where vendors have to think through what are the different bots technologies that it can bring in, because they are already pre-built. How do I integrate it with my existing platform? So that's one play, which is kind of common, where obviously having a good open API platform really helps to bolt on any type of partners who bring in a bot. Now, even within bots, you've got the Googles and Microsofts and Amazons of the world, where they kind of really give you the infrastructure to build your own bots. So they have a framework. It can be as easy as a drag and drop, or if you want to get a little bit more geeky, you want to get more precise, you could have developers code it, and, SDKs and APIs and all of those available for you to build your bot from some of the foundational elements, right? So that's another equation where companies can try to build their own bots with a framework that they get from some of these vendors. The third type of partners that I can think about is partners who are more like VARs, SIs, who are trying to go to a customer environment, and they're trying to see what best will work for this customer. Should I bring a pre-existing bot? Should I use something which is coming along with the product? Should I take the Watsons of the world and try to integrate? Should I take an existing bot, apply generative AI on top of it? So they've got so many things that they can think through from a customer perspective as well. Now, these are all the different types of partners. Now, when it comes to, let's start with, the first type of partners, which is technology partners who already have a pre-built bot. Now, the type of skill sets that they have, they're pretty much bot companies. They're building bots. It's going to be really high end. Same with the Googles of the world. They're really trying to build the framework and foundation layer. So an engineer at Google is going to be like, thinking about kind of a lot of machine learning and all of those things, right? Core engineering. But where I'm going is, in terms of skill sets, because we have a lot of existing options of either bring your own bot or build your own bot, leverage existing bots. From a partner perspective, I think there's more skills required in terms of taking the core, either integrating a bot to a vendor, which is more of an API play, which they've been doing for long, or building when they want to build their own bots. I think the fundamental skills required are going to be more on understanding bot frameworks, data sets, training, and all of those, so that they're able to take and put it in the customer environment. So again, to net it out, I talked about lots of different types of players, but to net it out from a partner perspective, if you're in a customer organization trying to find out the best strategy for the customer in terms of an implementation partner, I think a lot of where we have come a long way is we have a lot of those building blocks and stuff which is already built. Now it's a question of how do we bring it to the customer environment, and we might need to really think about skills in trying to understand bot frameworks, incorporating them, understanding some of the data layers, bringing them together versus, if we were to kind of rewind 10 years back, you were thinking about, sophisticated bots and how do I really build it in-house and all that stuff.
Fantastic. So I do want to talk about these AI specialisms a little bit more, particularly around where vendors and partners should be focused from a product perspective when it comes to building out the AI part of their business.
Yeah, that's a great question. Right now, we see a lot of use cases in customer-facing bots, voice bots, chat bots, multiple different ways of connecting with a customer. And we've seen a lot of interest in agent assist side of the house as well. And where we see a lot more opportunities is really looking in the analytics side, like having AI at scale to kind of look at opportunities for where the customer propensity models or churn models or any of those that you can build, identify where your customers in the journey, and have some really creative way of approaching personalized service. I think that space is kind of not much evolved compared to the other areas. So I think there's a lot you could do with mining the data. There's a gold mine out there. And it's almost like finding a needle in a haystack, but I think applying AI at scale is going to really be powerful on that side of the house.
Great. So looking ahead, as we said already, it does feel like we're early days in this AI, or particularly around generative AI. How do you expect this to develop from here? We feel like we're still on the upslope of the hype cycle, if you like. But what are your expectations over sort of the next 12 to 24 months of how this is all going to play out for the contact center?
Yeah, it's been a topic of interest for several years now. I think we're really at an inflection point where we're really seeing practical use cases being rolled out as pilots in multiple organizations. And it's also how the technology has evolved and matured. The conversational AI technology has been adopted pretty heavily in contact centers. We saw a growth of about 177%, pretty massive growth in conversational AI within contact centers. Now, with the power of generative AI and bringing the two together, I think there's a lot of magic that could be done. Like I talked about in the previous question, there are so many areas that will open up when it comes to AI. And the way to think about AI is really thinking about embedding that intelligence in every aspect of the contact center. So as an agent is, as a customer is coming in, how do you use AI? And then even routing, we're seeing advancement in routing where it's not just about I'm asking a question on cell phones, but it's, taking a level deeper to say, okay, this is Gayathri is this type of a personality. How can I match an agent with that personality, right? So personality-based routing. And then on the agent side, we talk a lot about agent assist technologies. And on the supervisor side, really looking at data, looking at being more proactive and AI predictive models for forecasting. I think it's a huge opportunity as well. With how do you schedule a bot and an agent? They're now a part of the same workforce. So a lot of AI-driven forecasting models, training models, train the bot, train the agent, train them together. And of course, there's the last part, which is like, how do I mine this massive amount of information about my customer? How can I bring different data sets together? How can I make sense of their journeys? How can I drive larger impact, retain customers, increase wallet share, and all that great opportunity that we have in front of us. So where I see is there's this massive opportunity within contact centers where they can really drive retention and growth. And especially in this economic situation, I think we're really looking for solutions where it's more cost-effective solution where AI obviously, is the net benefit is cost savings. So really the contact centers now are at a really great position, even in this downturn, to kind of show that impact of retaining customers, doing more with less, along with doing more with less. So I feel that the opportunity is great, and the success lies in really taking small pilots, looking at data sets, looking at training models, refining them, iterating them, perfecting them, and then scaling it out, and really looking at our strategy for rollout, bringing IT and business stakeholders together, and having that long-term vision and goal of where they want to go, and charting a path towards that. So I'm super excited about AI. It's going to get real. It's going to get so much beyond bots. And this is going to be the year when we'll see all of this show initial results where people are convinced that yes, AI has got meats to it. So
yeah, I'm super excited as well, and I think, I hope the partner community is as well. This technology provides a big opportunity for everyone in that sort of partner channel as well to be that expert and to sell that expertise into those end users. So G3, look, I've really enjoyed this conversation. Unfortunately, we do have to end it somewhere, so I'm gonna have to say goodbye. But thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much, David. Pleasure talking.
And thank you for watching. You've been watching me, David Dungay. This has been another UC Trends session. Don't forget, you can catch up with all the UC Partner Trend sessions on the website uctoday.com. That's it from me. I'll see you next time.